Christopher with Health and Fitness The Truth, and this video is our second or part 2 introduction to self-defense. In this video, what I want to talk about is basically to introduce you to the types of self-defense disciplines we'll be pulling from in order to learn self-defense, and why I see so much value in those specific martial disciplines for the sake of defending yourself. I see value in any martial art. If you haven't watched it, watch part 1 of this introductory and you'll see why I see value in any martial art. But as for when it comes time to fight, we will be pulling from boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, and Jiu-Jitsu. So those first two, boxing and Muay Thai, those are standing up, striking style of martial arts. There's no grappling in boxing, and there's a minimal amount of grappling in Muay Thai, but even the grappling in Muay Thai is done while standing up for the most part. So why would you want to learn striking disciplines for self-defense? Mostly because every self-defense scenario tends to start with two people standing up. If you don't have any options for defending yourself until after you've been tackled or after you've been punched in the face and now you're on the ground with somebody on top of you, that's a little less awesome. It's good if you've learned to be able to exchange hits, be able to use all your extremities, be able to use punches, elbows, knees, kicks. It's good if you have all those tools under your belt for striking someone if you have to. It's good to have the habit of keeping your hands up by your face to defend yourself. And it's good to learn how to deliver strikes in a quick and powerful way, and in a way that executes and then comes back in order to protect you as fast as possible. And that's why boxing and Muay Thai are really central to your best understanding of a striking martial art. Because in so many martial art disciplines, you see hands held down close to the waist or in front of the chest in ways that may not give you enough response time, or may not allow for you to have enough response time if somebody's striking at you, for you to be able to cover your face and head. If there's anything on your body that you do not want to get hit, it is your head, because while getting hit anywhere hurts, if you get hit hard enough in your head, of course, chances of a concussion or an instance where your vision goes white or you black out or you're fuzzy for a moment, that kind of stun is something you want to stay away from, if at all possible, if you have to defend yourself. Boxing, more than any other striking martial art or system of fighting, really teaches you to keep your hands up by your face. And there are a lot of drills in boxing where your hands are actually supposed to be touching your face, your gloves are on your face, right? And if you're striking with one hand, the other one has to be touching your face. And this hand is not allowed to strike unless this hand is back and touching the face. And that way, your face is always covered to some degree by a hand that will soften the blow of another hand hitting you. So boxing really brings that home better than any other martial art, certainly that I know of. And on the broader world stage, as shown in the advent of mixed martial arts, boxing has really proven itself over time to be a valuable striking system of fighting. Of course, Muay Thai just brings a whole lot more striking options to be placed under your tool belt for fighting. In Muay Thai, you get elbows, you get knees, you get kicks, and it's good if you have to hit someone to know that you have more options than just punches. Punches are great options, of course, and perhaps for a lot of us, they're the most instinctive option for striking at someone. But if you consider it, legs just carry more mass, and so when they land in a strike, they land a lot harder. You can push people better with your legs. You can do a lot of damage kicking. And of course, when you hit with elbows or knees, what I've done if I strike with a fist is that I have to maintain tightness through my wrist and through my elbow and through my shoulder, through those 3 joints. Well, not to mention all the joints in my hand that I have to hold this fist tight on impact. So I have to conserve a lot of energy in this strike of a punch in order to maintain all these joints stable on impact. With an elbow, I've shortened my lever arm, and so I have a lot less to worry about, so I can throw a lot more energy and allow for a lot more energy to be used in the strike, as opposed to having a lot of the energy absorbed in having to hold my joints stable. Of course, you have to be closer to hit with elbows or knees, but sometimes you're already close to someone when something violent starts out, and so having those closer options is a really good tool if you don't have the luxury of backing up in order to get the leverage you need to strike with your hands. hands. So boxing and Muay Thai are hugely valuable self-defense tools when it comes to learning how to strike. Just having those striking options, knowing how to defend your face, and knowing how to move appropriately in order to transfer your weight and not trip over yourself when you're fighting. Those are all excellent things to have in your tool belt when it comes time to defend yourself. And when it comes to grappling, we've talked about wrestling and jiu-jitsu being the things that we're gonna go over. Say for a moment that you're a world master expert at boxing and Muay Thai and you get blindsided and tackled by someone with violent intentions to you. Or they're a lot bigger than you, and even though you landed a hit on their way in, they still managed to tackle you. As soon as you're tackled and on the ground and some big dude is sitting on top of you trying to throw punches at your face, all that elbows and punches and knees and kicks are kind of out the door. So if you don't have any way of dealing with an opponent on the ground, then unfortunately you're out of options, even though you're a world-renowned master at striking martial arts. It is not a feasible plan to tell yourself, well, I'm really good at punching and kicking, and so nobody is going to be able to get me to the ground, because the vast majority of violent scenarios end up with people on the ground. If I were to describe the difference between wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I'd say that wrestling is all about controlling your opponent, and jiu-jitsu is all about breaking your opponent. Using leverage in some way to capitalize on your opponent's weak points in order to break them or cause them to pass out. So both are hugely valuable. Probably my favorite way of describing the value of grappling in your tool belt of self-defense tactics is by rehearsing as briefly as I can the history of Royce Gracie, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist in the UFC. So mixed martial arts becomes this big thing on the world stage. In the early 90s, this guy named Royce Gracie, this like 175-pound Brazilian grappler, comes into the world of mixed martial arts and says, basically, I think my martial art is better than everybody else's here, and I think I can take anybody. And in those days, it's important to understand they didn't have a lot of the same rules that they have in the sport of mixed martial arts that they have now. And so he was welcome to fight people who were way outside of his weight class. And at the time, the world stage was familiar enough with wrestling as a form of grappling, and the many subtypes of wrestling that there are, but not so much with jiu-jitsu. It was not big on the world stage yet. The Gracie family had a well-developed system and school of jiu-jitsu that they taught and espoused, and here comes Royce Gracie saying he can use his martial art to basically take on the best fighters in the world, who for the most part, some of them had wrestling in their background, but they came from boxing or karate or other martial arts that focused a great deal on striking. Sometimes with some form of grappling in terms of control or in some instances throws, but just not the kind of grappling that jiu-jitsu entails. And again, Royce Gracie was going up against guys that were, 50 pounds or more heavier than he was. And what would happen was they'd be like, no sissy little 175-pound dude is gonna get me to tap out. And because the world still didn't understand the art of jiu-jitsu, what would happen was the fight would get underway, Royce Gracie would take his opponent to the ground, and then the announcers wouldn't understand what was happening until Royce Gracie's opponent tapped out or passed out. The announcers would be like, and they're tied up, and looks like he might have some sort of hold on his arm, and what's this? Oh my goodness, Ken Shamrock has tapped out to Royce Gracie. Happened over and over and over again, until fighters in the mixed martial arts arenas saw the value of jiu-jitsu and started training in it themselves so that they could bring that to bear in their fights. And now, in mixed martial arts and cage fighting, you don't go in the ring without some sort of background and training in jiu-jitsu and or wrestling. So obviously I love jiu-jitsu. I learned one striking martial art or another from the time that I was old enough to have an interest in it or take classes or learn from my friends who were taking classes, all the way up until I graduated from college. And then I ran into some friends who did mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu, and I started getting into that. And now, if I were to end up in a street fight, which I hope I never do, I just hope I am waiting for the day when some violent perpetrator tries to tackle me to finish a fight, because they will be in my world. If you have the tools of jiu-jitsu and grappling at large, and your opponent who tackles you or ends up on the ground with you does not, they are in your world. And this is particularly why I like teaching jiu-jitsu for a woman's self-defense tactics. Because while size does matter and there's no getting around that, jiu-jitsu is all about using smart tactical advantages of leverage in order to expose weak points, and what happens is the fight is over before your opponent even knows what happened. assuming they don't have the tools of jiu-jitsu. So that's why I like these martial arts, and that's why I think mixed martial arts as a field has really proven itself over time by pitting all these martial arts in the world against each other on a huge world stage. Mixed martial arts has shown itself to be kind of the superior, most universally applicable system of self-defense, barring weapons. So we will be going over the striking, the grappling in the videos in this channel for those reasons. There you have it, a brief introduction to the kinds of fighting systems we'll be going over on this channel and why. Let me know if you have any questions, leave comments if you like. Please like and subscribe, tell your friends about Health and Fitness the Truth, and I'll see you in the next video.